My husband and the woman he'd been sleeping with were bleeding out in a Rolls-Royce. I was the paramedic who got there first. Her phone on the console, cracked screen, him kissing her. I didn't know. 7 years, and I learned this kneeling in broken glass, with his blood on my gloves. He's pinned. I can't reach him. She's reachable. That's triage. You save who you can reach. But there's half a second where my hands don't move. I will never know what that half second was. No backup. Storm gridlock killed that. Whoever gets my hands lives. Whoever waits, in this rain, with these injuries, waiting is dying. I chose. One of them didn't make it. They'll call it protocol. Or revenge. Everyone will have a word for what I did. None of them were kneeling in that rain. My hands are on her chest. Compressions. Steady. Rain's pooling in the hollow of her throat, and I keep tilting her head so she doesn't aspirate. 10 inches to my left, my husband is making a sound I've heard 100 times on calls. Wet exhale. Fluid in the lungs. I've never heard it from someone I married. My wedding ring catches the strobe every time my hands come down. Gold band under blue nitrile, pressing on the sternum of the woman he'd been sleeping with. I didn't take my ring off for shifts. 7 years I never took it off. I key the radio with my shoulder. My voice went flat, automatic. Dispatch, responding unit at Lakeshore. I need a second rig. Storm gridlock. Jackknifed truck on the interchange. Nearest unit rerouted. ETA unknown. Not delayed. Not 15 minutes. Unknown. Nadine. That's him. From the driver's seat. My name in his mouth, broken in half. Then the wet rattle takes the rest. My hands don't stop. That's the thing I need you to understand. Whatever was happening in my chest, whatever that half second was, my hands never stopped. I packed the wound on her temple. I held pressure until the gauze soaked through, then I packed more. I counted her respirations like she was anyone, like she was a stranger on any other Tuesday night. I am good at this. And being good at this is the thing that's going to cost me everything. I wasn't even supposed to be working tonight. Picked up the overtime because going home meant another evening sitting across from Armand while we pretended dinner counted as conversation. 3 weeks of cold kitchen, cold bed. Fine in public. We could do public. But the house had gone quiet, the way houses go quiet before someone leaves. I just didn't know which one of us it would be. And avoiding my own house put me here, kneeling between the two of them, with one set of hands and nobody coming. Be honest. Would you save your husband? Save his mistress? Leave them, both. You've got an answer already. I can feel it. But you're answering from your couch. I was answering from the rain. Backup came 11 minutes later. 11 minutes of keeping her alive while he bled out beside me. They loaded them both, separate rigs. And the second another paramedic touched that scene, I wasn't a medic anymore. I was the wife. Somebody put a blanket around my shoulders, like that was supposed to help something. I followed both rigs to the hospital, drove my own unit because nobody thought to stop me. Her phone was still in the car. Didn't matter. I could still see it every time I blinked. His mouth on hers, that cracked screen. Burned in. The hospital moved fast. VIP trauma protocol triggered the second his name hit the system. Armand Kestrel, CEO. Somebody important enough that the hallway cleared before the gurney stopped rolling. Nobody asked for my credentials. Nobody asked what I saw at the scene. They saw the uniform, the blood, and they put a blanket on me and pointed me at a chair. So I sat. Corridor chair. Fluorescent light that made everybody look half dead already. My uniform was soaked through. Rain and her blood mostly. His too, on my knees from leaning across the console. My gloves were in a biohazard bag somewhere. My ring was still on. I kept looking at it. Gold band on a bare hand under that ugly light. Still married, technically. A trauma doctor came out. Young, careful face. She said Armand had a brief, lucid window and he was asking for me. They brought me in. Monitors everywhere. Every one of them beeping at a different speed. All of them too fast. His face was half covered. Oxygen mask. Stabilization equipment. A laceration along his left temple held together with butterfly strips. His eyes found me before I reached the bed. He reached for my hand. I gave it to him. I don't know why that surprises people. He was dying. He was my husband. Both of those things were true at the same time. His grip was stronger than it should have been. I could feel his wedding ring pressing against my palm through the squeeze. Platinum against my skin. 7 years on that finger. Same promise as mine. His voice was barely there. Thin, wet, spent. Don't let them make this ugly. 5 words. And I couldn't tell if he meant protect me or protect his name. Protect what we were or protect what his company needs tomorrow. I will never know which one he was asking for. Because his hand went loose, and the monitor went flat, and a team pushed past me. And then it was over. They pronounced him at 11:47 p.m. I stood in that corridor and I didn't know what I was. Widow? Paramedic? The woman who saved the other woman? I kept waiting for one of those to feel true. None of them did. All of them did. Marrieder was empty. I was still standing where they'd left me after they called it. Gray blanket half off my shoulder, blood drying stiff on my knees. Then I heard heels, even, deliberate. Blythe Caro, Armand's chief of staff. I'd met her, company dinners, a fundraiser, the Christmas party 2 years ago where she'd poured me wine and asked about my shift schedule with that warmth people give you when they've already filed you under wife. She'd always been polite to me, polite the way a corporate lobby is polite, climate-controlled, consistent, and never once about you. She walked in wearing a camel coat, not a drop of rain on it, no umbrella dripping, no rush in her step. She knew which floor, which corridor, which attending. She knew my name before she reached me. Her voice was calibrated, soft without being tender. Nadine, I'm so sorry. I came as soon as I heard. As soon as she heard. The crash was 90 minutes ago. On a highway, in a storm, past midnight. And she arrived dry, briefed, and dressed like she'd been waiting for the call. I've been in emergency response for 10 years. When someone shows up that prepared for a crisis, it means one of 2 things. They train for it, or they knew it was coming. Within 20 minutes, the floor changed, quietly, the way expensive things move. You don't hear them, you just notice they've moved. Private security appeared at a room down the corridor. I didn't know the woman's name yet. I learned it when I overheard Blythe on the phone by the elevator, correcting someone. Her tone was flat, instructional. Refer to Ms. Renwick as the other party in the vehicle, not by name, not as anything else. Inez Renwick. That's who I'd saved. That's who they were already erasing. Press inquiries routed through a number I'd never heard. A hospital administrator reminded staff about confidentiality. The hallway had cleared for Armand's gurney an hour ago. Now it was clearing for Armand's name. I'd seen VIP protocol on calls before, the way a hospital rearranges itself when the right last name comes through the door. Less about saving the patient, more about controlling the hallway. Blythe came back. Coffee, a change of clothes, a quiet room where you can rest and not have to think about anything tonight. 3 kindnesses. Every one of them moved me further from that guarded door. I sat in the room she'd arranged. Nice couch, warm sconce light instead of fluorescent, a bottle of water with the label facing out, a folded towel on the armrest. The kind of room that says you're being taken care of. But what I heard was, you're being sorted. My husband was dead. The woman he'd been sleeping with was in a coma behind a guarded door. And the person controlling that door had worked for him. Compliant widow or problematic witness. Those were my options tonight. And the sorting had already started. I left the quiet room because sitting still was starting to feel like agreeing to something. The corridor was different now. Same polished floor, same amber sconces, but the traffic pattern had changed. Security positions had shifted. Staff moved in smaller clusters, lower voices. A controlled quiet. The building learning its lines. I found a waiting alcove 20 feet from where they'd put me. Mounted TV, muted, closed captions scrolling. And there was my life, rewritten in a news ticker. CEO Armand Kestrel, killed in Lakeshore Drive crash. An employee was also injured. Employee. The woman I'd packed gauze into. The woman whose airway I'd held open while my husband bled out beside her. She was an employee now. Not his mistress. Not the woman he'd been kissing on that cracked phone screen. An employee who happened to be in his car past midnight in a rainstorm. Blythe's language had already reached the official channels. Hospital statements, company PR, early news wires. The affair didn't exist in the institutional version. It had been edited out before the body was cold. They used Armand's annual report photo, the one where he wore the navy tie I'd helped him pick. He looked healthy, confident, important. He didn't look like a man who'd die gripping his wife's hand while the monitor flatlined. Behind me, 2 nurses passed. One had her phone angled toward the other. Her whisper was half gossip, half awe. Social media's saying it was his mistress. It's trending. Mistress. The word Blythe couldn't scrub. The unofficial version, raw, sloppy, and closer to the truth than anything on that TV, was already running alongside the clean one. By morning, both stories would be everywhere. The proper one, with proper language, for proper people. And the ugly one, for everyone else. Both versions needed me to play a part. In the official version, I was the grieving widow of a tragic accident. Dignified. Silent. In the public one, I was the paramedic, wife who saved her husband's side piece while he died beside her. Both versions had a woman named Nadine in them. Neither one had asked that woman what actually happened. I looked down at my uniform. Blood on my knees. Blood stiffening on my sleeves. Blythe had offered a change of clothes an hour ago. I hadn't taken them. I wasn't going to. This uniform, this blood, was the only version of tonight that was mine. The second I put on something clean, I became whatever story they needed me to be. Blythe found me in the corridor. I don't know if she'd been watching from somewhere or if she just had timing that good. No staff within earshot. Just the two of us and that amber light making everything look warmer than it was. She didn't build to it. She named the number. $25 million. I want to tell you I laughed, that the number bounced off me. But $25 million to a paramedic pulling overtime to cover rent on a 2-bedroom in Bridgeport, that number doesn't bounce. It detonates. I've done the math on my life. I know what I make in a year. I've calculated how many 12-hour shifts it takes to fix a bathroom exhaust fan. $25 million is not more money. It's a different species of money. The kind where problems don't get solved, they get erased. Legal defense, fully covered. The licensing board review, handled through, she used this word, connections. Hospital cooperation for as long as I needed it. One condition. Repeat one sentence, publicly, when asked. Her delivery was measured, gentle even. He was already gone when I got there. 6 words. She didn't call it a lie. She called it simplifying the timeline. As if my husband bleeding out 10 inches from me while I counted his mistress's respirations was a scheduling problem. Second condition. Stop opposing the transfer of Inez Renwick to a private recovery facility. Better equipment, better security, better for everyone. Better for everyone. I've been in emergency work 10 years. That phrase only shows up when it's about to get worse for someone specific. Then Blythe did the thing that made me hate her a little less, which made me hate her more. She made sense. Her voice stayed level, almost regretful. Tomorrow his company goes public. Thousands of jobs depend on investor confidence. Pension funds. Families. You and I both know what a scandal tonight does to all of that. This isn't about Armand anymore, Nadine. It's about what comes after him. And I couldn't dismiss it. That's the part I wish I could skip. The pension funds were real. The jobs were real. The families who needed that stock to open clean had nothing to do with the rain or the Rolls-Royce or the woman in the passenger seat. Blythe was asking me to lie. But the thing she was trying to protect was bigger than either of us, and she knew I could see that. $25 million. Be honest. Would you take it? Because for about 45 seconds, standing in that corridor with my dead husband's blood on my uniform, I thought about it. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. 45 seconds, long enough to imagine a life where the bathroom fan works, and I never pull another overtime to avoid my own house. Then I thought about Inez Renwick, behind that guarded door, in a coma. The only living person who saw what happened inside that car. And the second condition wasn't really about better care. It was about moving her somewhere quiet, somewhere staff wouldn't hear her if she woke up and started talking. $25 million to repeat 6 words and step aside while they disappeared the only witness. I hadn't said no yet, but my stomach had. I asked her the only question that mattered. Flat, direct, no performance. What happens if I say no? Blythe didn't threaten. She didn't need to. She just described the weather. The licensing board will be notified through routine channels, she said. Not by her, not by the company. A paramedic who responds to a scene involving her own spouse triggers automatic review. The system files itself. She was describing a machine that doesn't need anyone to push the button. Then, the headline. She didn't invent it. She just read it back to me like something she'd already seen on the morning edition. Her tone was clinical, almost sympathetic. Paramedic wife treated husband's mistress while he died beside her. That's not what I'll say. That's what the world says by 9 a.m., with or without me. And I saw it, the whole architecture. Not all at once. It built in my chest over about 10 seconds, and when it landed, I had to lean against the wall because my legs forgot their job. If I take the 25 million, the world eventually says I let my husband die for money. Greedy widow. Collected the check. Walked away clean. If I refuse and fight, the world says I let him die for revenge. Scorned wife. Saved the mistress out of spite. Or saved her because she didn't care enough about him to prioritize him. Take your pick. Both versions sell. The money wasn't buying my silence. It was buying my motive. Either door, the thing I actually did, followed triage under impossible conditions while my heart was breaking and my training was the only thing louder than the screaming in my chest. That version? Too complicated. Too human. Not clean enough for a headline. Not simple enough for a comment section. I was being offered a choice between two lies about myself. And the truth was the one option that wasn't on the table. Then Blythe said one more thing. Quiet. Almost casual. The way you'd mention a change in dinner plans. Her voice dropped half a register, softened to something nearly kind. He was going to leave you, Nadine. After tomorrow, after the company went public. He had plans with her. She paused, one calibrated beat. I'm sorry you're hearing it from me. I couldn't breathe for about 4 seconds. Because here's the thing. I can't verify that. Armand is dead. Inez is in a coma. Blythe is the only person in this corridor, and she works for the brand, not for the truth. Was he really leaving? With this marriage already over before the rain and the Rolls-Royce and the cracked phone? Or was Blythe using the affair as a detonator, weaponizing my grief so that 25 million feels like justice instead of silence? I will never know. And that's the part that's going to follow me home. I went back into the corridor. Not because I had a plan. Because the alternative was sitting in that room processing what Blythe had said. And processing wasn't going to keep Inez Renwick in this hospital. That's when I saw the gurney. Private ambulance logo on the rail. Not the city service. Not the hospital's fleet. Private. Clean. Expensive. The kind of transport that doesn't file with county dispatch. A nurse I recognized from the trauma floor was carrying a clipboard with a transfer authorization form, and a security guard I hadn't seen before, younger, bigger, different company badge, had taken position outside Inez's door. They were moving her, right now, while I was supposed to be sitting in that warm room with the water bottle and the folded towel, processing my grief like a good widow. I walked straight to Blythe. She was by the elevator, phone to her ear. She saw me coming and ended the call before I reached her. Where are you taking her? Her answer was smooth, immediate, rehearsed. Private recovery facility. Better neurological monitoring. Better security. For Inez's protection, Nadine. Not against her. Better for everyone. There it was again. Better for everyone. She's a coma patient in a public hospital, with attending staff who can document her condition and hear her if she wakes up. Moving her to a private facility removes every independent witness to her recovery. That's not better care. That's witness control. Blythe studied me. Not angry, not surprised. Recalibrating. I didn't wait for her answer. I turned around and walked to the nearest nursing station. 3 staff behind the desk. I addressed them directly. Not loud, not hysterical, just clear. the voice I use on scenes when I need bystanders to pay attention. I was the responding paramedic on the Lakeshore Drive crash tonight. The patient in that room is my patient. I'm telling you now, on the record, in front of witnesses, that I have concerns about a transfer being initiated without proper medical justification. I want that noted. 2 nurses looked at each other. The third typed something. I didn't know if it meant anything legally. I just knew Blythe couldn't disappear someone in front of people who'd been told to watch. It wasn't enough. Within 20 minutes, Inez was moved. Not out of the building, I'd made too much noise for that, but deeper into the VIP floor. A different room, behind a heavier door. No window, no glass. A card access panel I didn't have clearance for. New security. New attending, someone I hadn't met, someone who hadn't heard my statement at the nursing station. The witness was still in the building, 20 feet farther from me than she'd been an hour ago, behind a door I couldn't open, attended by staff who didn't know me, guarded by someone who did. I stood in that corridor and stared at the new door. Solid. No window. Blythe hadn't needed my cooperation. She'd never needed my cooperation. She needed my silence so the move could happen without noise. I gave her noise instead. And it worked. Barely. Inez was still here. Still in a hospital where her chart existed, where nurses had names, where someone might hear her if she surfaced. But I couldn't reach her anymore. I couldn't walk past her door and listen for monitors and wait for something to change. That was gone. Blythe passed me in the corridor. Didn't stop, didn't gloat. Just walked. That walk. The one that never changes, no matter what she's just done. She'd move the piece she needed to move. Not as far as she wanted, but far enough. I'd drawn a line. She'd drawn one too. And hers had a locked door on it. 4 a.m. Maybe later. The corridor had that middle-of-the-night wait where time stops moving forward and just presses down. Blythe came back. I watched her walk toward me from the elevator end, unhurried, same pace, always the same pace. But something had changed. She'd taken off the camel coat, cream blouse, charcoal trousers, pearl studs catching the sconce light. She wasn't in transit anymore. She'd settled in. This floor belonged to her now, and we both knew it. She didn't mention the 25 million, didn't mention the deal, didn't offer anything. She described what happens without her. Her voice was flat, instructional, the tone of someone reading a forecast. The licensing board was notified 2 hours ago. Routine channels. A paramedic who responds to a scene involving her own spouse triggers automatic review. I didn't file it. Nobody filed it. The system files itself. She let that land. The media. Nadine, I'm not going to insult you. The headline is already written. Paramedic wife saved husband's mistress while he died beside her. I don't need to leak that. Someone at dispatch will. Someone on this floor will. It's already in fragments on 3 platforms. By 9 a.m., it'll be everywhere. She paused. Not for drama. Because the next part was the part that mattered, and she wanted me to hear every word. Hospital administration has concerns about your continued presence on this floor. You're not a patient. You're not staff. Your husband was treated here and he's deceased. They've been very patient with you tonight, but by morning, there will be a conversation about whether your presence constitutes a security concern. I stared at her. She wasn't threatening me. That's what made it unbearable. She was describing a morning I couldn't stop, and the morning was coming whether she existed or not. Her voice dropped, almost gentle. The closest to human I'd heard from her all night. By morning, You'll be the woman who let her husband die. That's not what I'm doing to you. That's what happens without me." She walked away, left me standing there, and for the first time since the crash, I understood something I'd been too angry to see. Blythe wasn't the threat. Blythe was the umbrella. And I'd just told the umbrella to go away, in a storm that was going to arrive whether she held it or not. I walked to the door, Inez's new door, the solid one. No glass, no partition, just a slab of painted metal with a card reader glowing red and a security guard who'd been told not to make conversation. I stood there, and I didn't know what I was doing anymore. All night I'd been telling myself I was standing on principle, duty of care, refusing to let them erase a witness, blocking the transfer, making noise, doing the right thing. But standing in front of a door I can't open at 4 a.m. in a uniform I've been wearing for 6 hours, at some point principle starts looking a lot like stubbornness, and stubbornness starts looking a lot like a woman who can't go home because home has a closet with his shirts in it and a bed that still smells like a marriage she didn't know was ending. I replayed it, the half-second, the pause. He was pinned, she was reachable. My training said, save the one you can save. That's real, that's documented, that's in every triage manual I've ever read. But my heart, God, I need to be honest about this. My heart was screaming something else in that half-second. Not save her, not let him die. Just nothing. A blank. A flat line of feeling where something should have been. My hands should have moved immediately and they didn't. And the reason they didn't isn't in any manual. Was it assessment? Was it shock? Was it the cracked phone still burning in my peripheral vision? Or was it something I can't say out loud, that for half a heartbeat, I didn't want to save either of them? I will never separate those things. Protocol moved my hands, but the pause was real. And the pause is the thing that no incident report, no witness, no $25 million can explain away. Because I can't explain it to myself. Armand's words came back. They hadn't left all night. Don't let them make this ugly. Was he asking me to protect myself? Or was the last thing my husband ever said a press release? I looked. Down at my ring. Gold band under the sconce light. I'd worn it all night. Through the triage. Through his death. Through the offer. I'd thought of it as mine. My marriage. My commitment. My 7 years. But standing here, I saw what everyone else would see. A wedding ring on the hand of a woman who saved her husband's mistress. Evidence. Exhibit A in whatever story they decided to tell about me. The leaving claim came back. He was going to leave you after the IPO? Was that true? Was my marriage already over before the rain? Or did Blythe put that in my head so that 25 million would feel like severance instead of silence? I can't ask him. He's dead. I can't ask her. She's behind this door. I can't ask Blythe. She works for the outcome, not the truth. Here's what I know. I am standing in a hospital corridor at 4 a.m. defending a motive I cannot fully name for a truth I cannot prove, held by a witness who may never speak. I may lose my license. I may lose my career. The morning will call me a killer or a saint, and neither word will be right. And the woman behind this door, who might clear me, who might condemn me, who might have known my husband was married, or might have been lied to the same way I was, She is 20 feet away, and I can't reach her. Doing the right thing and being believed for it. Those are two separate things. I learned that tonight. Standing in front of a door that won't open, in a uniform that used to mean something, wearing a ring that stopped meaning anything hours ago. I didn't leave, not because I had a plan, because leaving was the one thing I knew I couldn't do. The quality of silence shifting from night to morning. Dawn came in through the corridor windows. Not warm, just gray. The kind of light that doesn't comfort, it just makes everything visible. I was still on the floor. Same spot, same uniform. My back against the wall beside the door I couldn't open. I hadn't slept. My body had gone past exhaustion into something flat and still. Past tired. Past the point where sleep is even a word that applies. Then, behind the door, something changed. A monitor alarm. Short. Insistent. Not a flat line. A vitals shift. The card reader beeped. The door opened. The attending rushed in, a nurse behind him. Nobody looked at me. Nobody needed to. I got to my feet and I could see inside. Inez Renwick in the bed. Her right hand was moving, fingers curling and uncurling against the white blanket. Chipped dark nail polish on her fingernails. The IV line shifting with her hand. Her eyes opened, unfocused, swimming. Fighting something. Sedation, trauma, the weight of a body that had been shut down for hours. Her lips moved before sound came. The nurse leaned in. The attending was at the bedside, 2 staff, witnesses. Her voice was barely there, slurred, spent, each word costing her something physical. He was alive. She tried. 4 words. Then her eyes closed. Her hand went still. The monitors settled back to their steady rhythm. She was under again. The attending noted the time. The nurse noted the statement. It was in the record. I stood in the doorway and I couldn't breathe. Not because of relief. Because 4 words is an exoneration. It's not a detailed account. It's not the testimony that would end the licensing inquiry or silence the headlines or give me back the career I could feel slipping away. But it was enough to crack the worst version. That I arrived and found him already dead. That I chose not to help him. That my hands never moved toward him at all. Inez said he was alive. Inez said I tried. The door closed again. The card reader beeped. Red light. Blythe appeared at the end of the corridor. She'd seen the commotion. She stood there for a moment. Her eyes moved from the door to the nurse, to me, and back. 2 staff members heard. It was documented. Her clean sentence, the 6 words she needed me to repeat, no longer held the floor alone. She didn't come closer. Her jaw set. The first tension I'd seen on that face all night. Then she turned and walked back toward the elevator. Same pace. Always the same pace. The crack was small, but it was in the record, and records survive the morning. Morning filled the corridor, the kind where you can hear the hospital shift change happening 2 floors down. Somewhere in the city, trading desks were waking up. Armand's company was going public today. The machine that needed my silence had found its workarounds. Sources close to the family had already done the talking. A clean narrative that didn't mention my name or Inez's. The world was moving on. It moves faster than you think when there's money involved. I accepted the change of clothes. Not Blythe's offer from hours ago, A nurse brought them. Grey joggers, white crewneck, hospital standard, 2 sizes too big. I took off the uniform in a bathroom, folded it, set it on the counter. 7 hours of rain and blood and triage and choice. It sat there under the fluorescent light, looking like what it was. Evidence that I had done my job. The ring stayed on. I wasn't ready for that yet. Blythe found me one last time, by the elevator. She didn't offer anything. Didn't threaten. Didn't mention the 25 million, or the 6 words, or the licensing board, or the morning headlines. She just looked at me, the way you look at someone you've been negotiating with all night, when the negotiation is over and neither side won. Her voice was quiet, almost private. The first time all night it sounded unscripted. You made your choice. I'll make mine. She turned, walked away. I listened to her heels until they disappeared. Same sound she arrived with. Exactly the same. The last I saw of her was the back of that cream blouse disappearing around the elevator bank corner. Here's what I walked out with. Inez's 4 words in a medical record. My own account, unaltered. My license, under review, not revoked. My conscience, wounded, but it was mine. Here's what I didn't walk out with. $25 million, legal protection, career certainty, a husband, a public that would believe me without working for it, a clean story, a good night's sleep for the rest of my life, the stain I avoided. I wouldn't be the one doing it to Inez. I wouldn't be the one who stepped aside while they disappeared the only witness. That's what I kept. Not innocence, just the knowledge that when they needed me to be a door, I was a wall. 17. The doors opened. I stepped in. Nobody saw me off. No vindication, no speech. Just a paramedic in borrowed clothes leaving a VIP floor she was never supposed to be on, carrying a truth nobody asked her to keep. The elevator doors closed, and I went down. The world will decide what I am. Vengeful wife, protocol hero, the woman who let her husband die, the woman who saved someone she had every reason not to. I already decided what I'm not. Weeks later, the stock opened clean. The headlines ran their course. Every version of me, every version of that night. And then the city found someone else to talk about. That's how it works. The story that owns your whole life is somebody else's Tuesday. My license is still under review. The hearing notice came in an envelope I left on the counter for 3 days before I opened it. The media settled on 2 versions of me, the vengeful wife and the dutiful paramedic. And I stopped reading both because neither one knows about the half-second. Nobody knows about the half-second, except me. I'm still wearing the ring, not because I've decided what the marriage was, because I haven't. And I'm not sure I get to, now that he's not here to argue his side. And there's one thing I can't stop turning over. Blythe told me he was leaving, after the IPO, that he had plans with her. I still don't know if that was true. If it was, I destroyed myself to save the woman he chose over me. And if it wasn't, she poisoned the only clean thing I had left to break me into taking the money. Either way, there's only one person alive who might know, and she's been asleep for 6 weeks. I still don't know what he meant by, "Don't let them make this ugly." I only know Blythe tried to sell me one clean reason for what my hands did, and I refused to wear it. But 3 miles north, In a recovery room I'd never been allowed to enter, the monitors were changing. Inez Renwick's swelling had receded, cognition returning, monitors steady for days. Her eyes opened, clear this time, not fighting anything, focused. She looked around the room, took in the unfamiliar walls, the IV in her hand, light that wasn't rain, and underneath, fragments surfacing. Glass, sirens, hands on her chest pressing hard, a voice counting compressions. She looked at the nurse beside her bed. "Where's Nadine?" The nurse didn't have an answer. Not yet. The truth doesn't arrive
when you need it. It arrives when it's ready. And sometimes, the person who paid the price is already down the road. This is American Billionaire Tales, where fortune meets fate. The hands that save you don't always get to stay. If you know what you'd have done in that rain, tell us. And if you don't, stay close. Was he really leaving me after tomorrow? Or did she say it just to break me? I still don't know. Maybe you do. Like and subscribe for the next confession when it's ready.